passes in your or plays in your pass game.
New on NFL Live, Joe Burrow preparing for Myles Garrett in the Browns defense. Here he is from a moment ago.
What they're very good at is making everything that they do look like every other thing that they do. Yeah, you have to get the ball out quick, try to get it out as fast as you can, because those guys up front are coming, and their coach does a good job of sending a pressure here and there that you're not necessarily ready for. They don't pressure us a ton, but when they do, it's usually effective. I think we're in a good spot of game plan wise of figuring out when and where those are coming from.
Phil, Burrow and the Bengals lost to the Browns Week 1, 2023. How do they avoid that this time?
Yeah, I do think it's block number 95. I'll get back to that in just a minute here, Laura. But Joe is right. Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator for the Browns, has some of the most exotic pressures you'll see in the entire NFL. I'm less concerned about those against Cincinnati because I think Joe is in the conversation. If not the best pre-snap processor of any quarterback in the league, but you better have a plan for Myles Garrett because he himself can be a play-wrecking defender. We have seen that time and again. And Cincinnati's slow starts cannot persist if this team wants to be a serious factor in the AFC this year.
We're hearing from quarterbacks all over the league today in anticipation of Week 1 start. Let's get to some more new on NFL Live. Here's CJ Stroud.
It's every first game of every year. You're excited to show your talent and the new guys and the new stuff you learn and new schemes. It's a bunch of different feelings, but yeah, I'm really just excited to play again. I'm tired of watching, so. Yeah, I'm just excited to play. I don't really feel a huge difference, but yeah, just natural jitters and nervousness from just a new season. So.
Stroud preparing for that Rams defense. Marcus, what do you be watching for from the Texans offense?
Well, we know what the critical point is for the Houston Texans, and that's protection. They tried to get this offensive line and re-solidify a little bit. Also got to use Nick Chubb in this run game as well. Joe Mixon was a big part of what they did last year. I don't think you can get away from that. But this team needs to play with leads because they can be dominant defensively if they can get up on opponents early. CJ Stroud, I think you'll see remnants of that rookie year that we saw as long as he has time to push the ball down the field, especially with his new weapon, Christian Kirk, and Nico Collins obviously returning as his number one guy. I'm interested to see, though, how that protection, especially in the heart of that offense, if it was a vast improvement for last year, because he was absolutely mauled by interior pressure all season long.
And also speaking this afternoon, Aaron Rodgers, who was asked if there's a little extra motivation playing against his former team. Here's what he said.
Yeah, it's Week 1. Well, this is the second new, so it's the new. I'm loving being here. The way that I've been welcomed has been really, really special, from top down to the fans to guys in the locker room and sports staff, the men and women that work for this organization. It's been really, really special.
All right, so for more on this, we welcome in our Steelers reporter, Brooke Pryor. Brooke, Rodgers isn't saying much about returning to MetLife, but what are his teammates telling you about the significance of this game?
Well, Laura, I guess I should have anticipated that Rodgers wasn't going to say much about going back to MetLife, because I asked Mike Tomlin yesterday if he could sense that this game meant more to Rodgers, and he said, well, if it does mean anything more than just a normal game, he's probably not going to tell you. So I put on my reporter hat and I asked his teammates if they had a sense that this game means anything more, and Pat Freiermuth told me that it really doesn't seem that way. He said that Rodgers is handling this like a normal game, but he said this whole locker room, they do want to win it for him, but he appreciates, and the locker room appreciates, that he's not adding any pressure, making this game more than what it is, which is a season opener for an offense that didn't take any snaps together in the preseason in game action. Wide receiver DK Metcalf largely echoed what Pat Freiermuth said when I asked him about it. And I said, look, DK, can you tell that this is something different for Aaron Rodgers? And he said, no. I mean, he wants to get out there. The last couple teams left a bad taste in his mouth, but it's because he likes being a quarterback. He likes playing the game, and he wants to win as many games as he can. I said, are you concerned about getting off to a slow start because you haven't had all the game reps together? And he said, no, not me. That's what everybody else is worried about.
Oh, I love it. No worries there. Maybe some fantasy owners paying attention to that as well. Thanks so much. But they each bring something different. CeeDee Lamb coming off another 100-catch season. The trade for George Pickens adds a magnet for those tight window throws. Kevontae Turpin, the best return man in the NFL last season. And Jalen Tolbert led the Cowboys in touchdown catches a year ago. Brian Schottenheimer was asked about Pickens and CeeDee playing together yesterday.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch those guys every day in practice. You know, it's fun to watch those guys. But what I love, Todd, is I love the way they feed off one another and they celebrate one another. You know, as we all know, there's one ball, you know, and the ball can't go to multiple spots on the play. And we've got a lot of really good weapons. You know, Terp's having a great, lead up to the season. We're going to run the football. We know that. And so, I'm just excited for how much fun those guys have playing the game as Cowboys.
Golly, it certainly looks good, even on the practice field. Dan, what can this Cowboys offense take advantage of against the Eagles tomorrow?
One, take advantage of the unknown. Brian Schottenheimer hasn't been the play caller in the NFL for 5 years. And Vic Fangio, who's the defense coordinator for Philly, has been around the NFL forever, but there's not really a known of who they're going to be on offense. We've heard all offseason that they wanted to get into more formations and more shifts and more motions and different actions and play actions. The Eagles are guessing a little bit on who you are schematically. So in the game early on, see if you can get into that stuff and use tempo doing it. Use no huddle to do it, to force communication from Philly at home, and maybe that helps you offensively. And the second thing is, I would throw 80% of my passes opposite Quinyon Mitchell. The corner two spot, whoever's stepping in for Darius Slay, it should be Adoree Jackson. Now, Adoree Jackson's played a lot of time, a lot of games in the NFL. Yep. Certainly not in Philly. There's really only three proven guys in that secondary that have played a lot for Philadelphia. I would make sure that I'm taking plenty of shots opposite Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best wide receiver duos that Philadelphia will see all season. It's one of the best, probably in the entire NFL right now with the addition of George Pickens. But it's an inexperienced group collectively in Philadelphia, not in terms of like actual time played in the NFL. But to your point, Dano, like this is some new faces that are going to have to communicate at a high level, which say what you want about Philadelphia's roster. Listen, there are no major roster holes for Philadelphia, but there are a couple of guys who are going to have to earn their stripes. There is no longer a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a Darius Slay, guys who have been there, seen a lot of skins on the wall in Philadelphia. So it's a big test coming out of the gates here for that Eagles secondary. And this Cowboys offense, I know Shotty keeps talking about wanting to run the football, but I'm sitting there thinking to myself, when you got those two guys, like,
I would take shots early.
Make them earn it in the secondary.
I love what both of y'all are saying about pushing the ball downfield. Your two best offensive weapons are your wide receivers, so it makes a ton of sense. Don't forget about Jake Ferguson either at the tight end spot, trying to exploit some things throughout the middle of the field. But this has to be a play-action balance type of situation for Dak Prescott. You lean heavily more towards the pass. That's why I'm in agreement with you all. But y'all go back and harken back to those conversations we had last year with the Dallas Cowboys. They could not find a run game at all. There needs to be some semblance of being able to do that, especially with an offensive line now that has to be a physical offensive line, and running the football is always easier for these guys. I'm not sure how many times you want to just drop straight back against Philly, especially with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith being up there on that defensive line for them, and Jordan Davis being able to push the pocket as well. So Smith, and you look at all of these guys that they brought in at the running back